In almost every community, there is a place where off-road enthusiasts, ATV riders, and adventurers go to play. Outside of Albuquerque, in a little suburb called Rio Rancho, there is a place that fits this description to the T. This place is called the Rio Puerco, or the place at the end of Southern. This part of the area is beautiful with its ever-reaching views, beautiful vistas, arroyos that stretch long distances and endless amounts of trails. On any given weekend, you'll find Jeeps proving their 4x4 performance, Baja-style trucks slamming through the desert, dirt bikes taking on the whoops, and ATVs looking for places to rip and cruise. On one particular weekend, Rob and Kris found a day that would prove we are all prone to fun, adventure, and an old-fashioned ass-whooping that a wild place like the Rio Puerco has in store for special people who commonly say, "Nah, that won't be tough." When Kris and I set off for this ride, it was in October, right after our heavy monsoon season. This day was a busy rider day as it was the first warm day of riding after weeks of having heavy rain. As you can see, the rain took its toll. Rain in this area is not entirely uncommon. However, if you're not used to this area and how rain impacts the area, you may not know that there are several factors that impacts the trails. First off, water runoff can happen at almost any given time, and almost anywhere. Arroyos tend to get water runoff from storms miles away. Another factor is that the ground soil is primarily made up of a mixture of sand, clay, volcanic ash, and dirt. When the conditions are right and the ground turns into a very tacky type of mud, it is then called caliche. In this area, we started to see evidence that the rain had not only eroded the trails, but created large and dangerous erosion areas to tackle. For us, it caused a problem because the trails we were used to changed and required us to do a lot of backtracking. While we were out riding, I crested a sand dune and saw a Baja-style truck hauling ass across the desert. I had never seen one in action and was amazed how fast he was going and the capability of the machine. The owner had every bell and whistle on the machine and definitely had invested a ton of money and time into his favorite sport. At the end of the day, we found he was a very nice person who enjoyed being out there with all of us. We were able to ask for directions and he was able to help us find our way back home. At this point of the ride, Kris needed to jump a little berm. As you can see, his approach angle caused him to have to bail from his bike. When I came up on him, he had one foot holding the bike upright waiting for my help. As you can see, with a little help of the winch, we quickly were able to get him upright.
Ready? That's right.
As we were riding up this ridgeline, I started to notice that the road was quickly disappearing. Unfortunately, while I was contemplating our trail up ahead, I came up on Kris, who ran right into a washed-out part of the road. Other than being spooked, it seemed that the handlebar had kicked back and nailed him in the ribs, and his front end was definitely put right into the sand. Kris told me that he didn't even see it coming, and when looking, I noticed that the hole that he was stuck in was covered by a thin layer of clay that gave way under his tires as he drove over them. Thank goodness he was okay and not seriously hurt. The use of a shovel and the winch made quick work of getting him out, and once again, we were back on the road. As the day started to get later, Kris and I started to wonder if we should backtrack or find another way back. We decided the latter. Since Kris and I had ridden the area on several occasions, we knew that the road would lead back to a fence line on the north side of the Rio Puerco that we could then follow back to civilization. At this point, we had been out riding for about 4 hours, and we were starting to get tired, cranky, and running out of light, and it was a great sight to see the Sandia Mountains and our way back home.